The hard truth is you better know your market or you're going to fail.
Curious what business owners are doing to double revenue, have more cash flow, work less hours, and provide a better lifestyle for their family? Dive into the world of business growth that leads to guaranteed wealth every Tuesday with your hosts, Dr. Laura Swaluk and Jerry Kezhaya. Grow and get answers to your business and investment questions that provide clarity, move you forward, and inspire you to reach your goals. Welcome to this edition of the Business Builders Intensive. My name is Dr. Laura Swaluk, and my co-host here is
Jerry Kezhaya.
And we have a special guest with us today, a gentleman that we've known for several years now, who is an absolute marketing genius. I would like to welcome Jon Marino. Thank you, Jon, for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Really looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
I'm excited.
And we promised that today's going to be fun, right?
That's right. That's what we promised. I'm happy to be here, Laura and Jerry. Thanks for having me on your show.
You bet. Cool. So just to kind of start off, tell everyone who you are, what makes you credible about talking about marketing, kind of, name drop and all that stuff.
Well, Laura, I got started in marketing originally in direct marketing in about 2002. And then, I wasn't really good at it and I was looking for a type of business I wanted to get into. And I was in an email newsletter in 2003 or 2004, and I shared it with a friend of mine. And he said, boy, that guy's a really good marketer. And I said, that's the business I want to get into. And so I took immediate action after about 5 years of time and started studying in 2009 in direct marketing and email. I started taking clients in 2014. And I've worked with some really great and amazing people. I've worked with, in fact, the gentleman whose email list I was on, his mentor, I ended up working with him unknowingly, and that's Alex Mendosian. If you know Alex, we met at Alex's event. So
he was on our podcast just a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, no kidding. That's fantastic. Yeah. So my mentor's mentor became my mentor and client and friend. And I still work with Alex to this day. We're working on a project together right now with Revealed Films that we're really excited about. I've worked with Damon John's team, and one of the clients that I'm working with right now is Roger Love, if you're familiar with Roger.
Yep. Voice.
Yeah. He helps business owners and entrepreneurs find their voice so they can get, so people listen to them, so they have credibility with their audience, and so they can be more engaging and inspiring to the people that they talk to.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, let's dive into knowing your market, knowing your people. I guess we used to call it avatar. Now it's called persona. Is that the same thing, or is that different?
I kind of view them as the same thing. Your ideal market, your ideal person, your ideal persona, your target market. I view them the same. I'm sure there's other people who would say, they're radically different or something like that. But for me, knowing this avatar, knowing this persona, it's a lot deeper than just knowing their demographic, what they do, how old they are, if they own a house, if they're married and have kids and things like that. It goes a lot deeper into, their behavioral preferences and their psychological tendencies, psychological drivers, even dark psychological drivers, things like vulnerabilities, emotional triggers, things that when they have the problem that you solve for your clients, when they have that particular problem, things that lead them to be immoral or unethical. So an example of what that could be is something like when we did Roger Love's market and we got deep into their mind, we found that sometimes people who are not confident in their speaking abilities will lie to get out of speaking engagements. And that's in kind of yes, that, they get so much anxiety and they don't have the confidence that they'll say, oh no. And they'll deflect and they'll avoid speaking in front of people. So I'm not talking about somebody who's a keynote speaker who's handled a lot of those challenges in their life. I'm talking about somebody who's sitting in a boardroom and needs to make a presentation for the CEO or something like that. They may exhibit that tendency. And that's something that you can, we end up addressing in copy at times,
I find that to be so fascinatingly alien to me.
Isn't that wild? Isn't that wild? But
I could not, honest to God, I can't even imagine me being in a room and being afraid to say, I mean, for me, right? Because,
right. For you.
I'm Mr. Chatty Cathy
You
anyway, but for me to be in a room, hell, I've never met a stranger.
And I'm the opposite. I'm like, yeah, I'll lie to not have to say anything. You bet.
Yeah.
Jerry, ask this question. Here's the question. You ask it. Yeah.
And Laura, I've heard you speak and ask questions in a room full of people, and you speak very well. You're very articulate.
Well, that's because I've had decades in my private practice. I gave a public talk nearing the end. I gave a public talk probably 2 to 6 times a week that I was out there in the community or had people come to my office and give presentations. So I'm a whole lot more familiar with it now. But at the beginning,
oh, I bet.
no.
In the beginning, she didn't want to talk to the patient in her office, much less anything else. And then at the end, she's doing one-to-many sales, high 5-figure sales, right, in one-to-many settings.
And the truth of it is that if I can do it, then anyone can. Any business owner, whether you feel like you have the ability to public speak or do marketing. I mean, I was horrible at marketing. I mean, I really still am not that great at it, but if I can learn it, then other people can learn it too.
And I want to throw something in on that very subject, right? Because a lot of folks that don't do this regularly think it has to be perfect or they won't do it. And there's a saying out in the industry, being done is better than perfect.
That's right.
Getting it completed is better than perfect. Dan Kennedy, one of my early mentors, said 80% is good enough.
Yeah.
Right? If it's done at 80%, you beat the guy that's the perfectionist.
100%. 100%. I agree with you. And that's really another hard truth that business owners I think experience is they kind of get shiny object syndrome and they get deflected into doing things and not completing the things that they're working on
all the time.
Yeah. One of my mentors, Ryan Dice, he talks about this concept that he calls half-built bridges, where if you're on a cliff, let's say, and what you want is on the other side of the cliff, and you start building a bridge halfway across, and maybe in business that might be, creating a webinar or something like that. You're going to create a webinar to generate leads inside your business. And then you start building that and you get about halfway done. And then somebody comes up to you and they say, hey, you know what you really need is a podcast. And you go, oh, that's a really good idea. I've seen people on podcasts, they do really well. I'm going to go start a podcast. And then you get about halfway done and somebody comes up to you and says, you don't need a podcast. What you really need is a social media manager and you need to be doing paid advertising. And then you go, oh, that's right. I should be doing that. Yeah. And really at the end, you have a bunch of half-built bridges that, they don't do anything. So what
you've spent so much time, so much energy, so much money getting this thing halfway done, and you still have zero
leads.
You have zero coming in.
Zero.
And you go, but I've busted my ass.
That's right.
How come it's not working?
And I'm
because
so
you haven't
busy.
Finished anything.
That's right. So the idea that Ryan teaches is you build one entire bridge all the way across to the other cliff, and you get some of what you want. You walk back over that bridge and then you start building the second bridge, right? And that's where you really get the synergy. And, you mentioned Dan Kennedy, the way Alex Mendosian says it is he says version 1 is better than version none.
Yeah.
And I that really stuck with me. He said it to me years ago and I probably think it several times a week.
We have a book out there right now that we should probably be on version 2. We should update it. But you know what? Version 1 is out. It's published and it's doing its thing, and we're loving life. And at some point, if and when we get the time, energy, desire, and really give a rip to update it, we may have a version 2 out there. But in the meantime, you know what? We published it. It's out there, and people are loving the results of implementing. So
is that the hiring book?
Our hiring book, yeah.
Hiring a superstar for your small business.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Jon, so let's dive into what's the magic that you do? How do you help well, before I forget though.
Yes.
Wait a minute, wait, you mean like the Salem witches magic?
No, stop it. Jon, would you please tell everyone how they can get a hold of you?
He's got a hocus pocus.
If they're having difficulty with marketing and they want to reach out to you, what's the best way to contact you? What's your contact information?
Yeah, the best way to get a hold of me right now is on a site, Jon calendar.com. And there you can schedule directly with me. And if there's no convenient times available, there's a means for you to reach out.
Okay, so tell us when you start with a customer, when you start with a new client,
Yeah.
what does that look like?
What's the onboarding?
Yeah, what do you do for them?
Well, the very first thing we start with, and it plays into our hard truth that we talked about before, is we do an in-depth customer persona analysis to find out who we're talking to. And we use existing copy that is working for our client, or we interview them to find out who they think their customer is and who their client is, and then we go into a really deep analysis. In fact, I just did one of these with a new client, and the first step after I gather the information is to do a mini persona and to check back with them and say, how does this feel? Is that about right? And they said this is already deeper than we've gone with our original avatar research. And it's really going to help our elevator pitch and keeping our marketing message tight and concise. So even that initial step helps people immensely. And then we go even deeper. And so this allows us to know who we're talking to, so we can find different positioning for our clients' existing offers, for our leads, for lead generation pieces and things like that. So it kind of gives us all the angles. And then it allows us to hone our language so we can hit multiple pain points in a tasteful way as we speak to them in our different marketing messages.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, awesome.
It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. Then once we find out who we're talking to, then we really want to start warming up their list. A lot of people have an email list. A lot of business owners have an email list that they either don't email, they don't reach out to, or they don't reach out to consistently or often enough. And so we start warming them up with interesting, relevant, and useful content, things to get them opening, to teach them that when they click, they actually get something good and that we're not just pitching at them the entire time. And then after we start that process, then we identify a project, typically something that removes friction from the sales process, perhaps. We might optimize an existing offer to get even better conversion, or to get people to buy more, add more to their cart, for example, on every sale. And then we could also be doing something where if their sales system is already optimized, it's working pretty good, we might do something that helps them convert even more strangers into subscribers on their email list, and those subscribers to eventually convert into sales. So there's a number of different projects that we end up doing, but we always, always, always start with that persona so we know who it is we're talking to.
Sure. We talk about one of the big problems that we see for small business truly is we call it, the easiest fruit, right? The low-hanging fruit.
Low-hanging fruit. Yep.
Low-hanging fruit is to do business with people that already know, love, and trust you.
That's right.
Okay? And the easiest way to do that is email marketing. And the consistency. You must be consistent with your email marketing. And as you said, you're not always pitching. It's like you're dating, man, right?
Yeah.
You can't get married on your first date. You really have to, you want to go for a walk? Let's hold hands while we're going for a walk. And,
That's right.
and then the next date, you want to go have lunch, and then maybe we'll have dinner on the fourth or fifth date.
That's
and
right.
then, at some point you might get a little smooch,
Bootsy.
right? Right. I mean, you have to go through all those steps.
I don't
That's
know,
right.
but I think people do it a lot faster these days. It's different than when we started dating, Jerry.
Well, I am old, okay?
But seriously, that
but,
is the way it is with customers, though.
whether I'm old or not, people are a lot freer with their body than they are with their money. Okay, you still have to go through the dating process to get to the money.
That's a hard truth point.
That's right. And one of the things we teach with the teams and the clients that we work with is we teach kind of a relationship, a business relationship model where somebody needs to become aware of you, engage with you, then subscribe. Then you want to get them to invest time and energy in the form of a small amount of money sometimes, get them excited about what you're doing, and then ascend them through your product line. It's not like this thing like cold advertising to like $100 offer or something like that. It just, you end up paying so much for ads for so many no's, you're just cranking through those numbers, and it really doesn't work very well.
Right.
Yeah, not in today's market, not with today's customer,
No,
not in today's economy. It's
that's
like the
right.
rules have completely shifted
Hmm.
in so many different ways and so many different levels, and you really have to be cognizant of what's going on. I mean, not just in your industry, but
Hmm.
what's going on, as you say, with your clients. You have to know what's going on. We used to call it demographics and psychographics,
Yep.
right? I want like when we would poll our clients and we want to know, what radio stations do you watch?
Yeah.
What TV
Listen,
show are, yeah, we're talking.
listen, dude.
No.
When I was young, we used to watch the radio. Okay,
Now, now,
and
why is that relevant though? Why is the radio station someone listens to? Why is that relevant? And the one of the ways we use that is if we're dealing with a market that listens to like 70s rock, we might throw a metaphor about Led Zeppelin in there. you
yeah,
know and that same metaphor could be used with somebody who listens to 80s pop, but it's not going to hit as hard.
Yeah.
So if our radio station is 80s pop that our market listens to, well, then we might throw that Michael Jackson reference in there.
exactly.
So
And we
that's
also another way that we use that is we believe that birds of a feather flock together,
yeah,
right? And so if you're one of my top tier clients and you're listening to 70s rock and roll,
mhm,
I'm going to start marketing my business on radio stations that do
100%,
70 rock and roll. Why? Because the people that look, act, and think like you are listening to the same radio station most of the
100%,
time,
100%.
right? And this is how we laser focus the marketing
Yep.
that we're going to do, and to get our top tier customers and duplicate them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. You brought up something that I want to touch on because I think it would be really valuable for your listeners. Is this too, Jerry? Is you said people do business with people that know, like, and trust you, right?
Yes.
So if you're working with your email list and you're sending them content and you have a new lead generation asset, whatever that happens to be. Digital marketer and Perry Belcher use the term lead magnet. A lot of people call it a freebie, whatever that happens to be. A mistake I see people make a lot of times is they'll take that free thing, they'll put it out in their paid advertising right away. And what I do with every lead magnet that we create and every optimized lead generation piece is we test it with the email list that we already have, because these people are more forgiving. They already know, like, and trust us. So we ask them to opt in again to get the new lead magnet. And then after they opt in, that's a prime time to invite them to the next step, whatever that next step happens to be, whether it
Sure.
be a course or a call or whatever it happens to be. And we end up converting a lot of our existing list to new customers, even if they've seen the offer multiple times, just by putting new lead magnets in front of them.
I
The
love
best
it.
lead magnets, we go out, now we can test those with paid advertising, and we know that the people who already know, like, and trust us respond to it. So we know we're getting people that will resonate. We have a good expectation on our ad return.
That's great. I tell you, to cement that in a little further, I
Yeah.
know that our customer list, the people that we send things to,
Mhm.
if we have a typo in it, they'll actually get on the phone and call and say, "Hey, I saw your email today, but I think you blew it." And here's what, and I went, "Oops," right? And then we can send it out again corrected. But
Right.
when your customers know, love, and trust you,
They'll help you.
they feel like they're part of the family,
Right.
and they will call you on your stuff if you screw up.
That's
So
right.
you just know. But again, that goes back to done at 80% is
That's
better
right.
than perfect and still sitting on the shelf.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. And you know, people support what they help create as
Yep.
well. So, and another thing on top of that, thank you so much. Here's another thing that you might enjoy just for helping to identify that error, whoever that
Okay.
happens to be. And then it opens the door for a conversation to ascend them to the next step as well.
Beautiful.
Jon, I know that we've talked about some basics and we've talked about some intricate things. Can you share with us some marketing essentials? Like if someone has their small business, let's say
Mhm.
they're doing 300, 500,000 in revenue and they want to get to a million, or they're doing a million and they want to get to 3 million. What are some of the marketing essentials that and I use those numbers because that's our sweet spot for helping people in
Sure.
their business. And I think that that's something that you really can help people excel at as well. So what are some of the essentials they need?
Well, some of the essentials that come to mind are really again, it's starting with your market, right? Listen to what your market is saying and provide solutions to the problems they're having. A lot of people they go out and they try to say, "Hey, I have this really good idea." They bring it to the market, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Then they're like, that thing doesn't work," and maybe they abandon it, or maybe they get so you know attached to that thing that they keep trying and trying and trying, and it just doesn't work. Start with your market, listen to your market and what they're telling you, and once you discover a problem that you can solve for them, go create that solution, and then bring your market to the solution, not that other way where you're like, here's a solution, here's a solution. Invite them, bridge them over to your solution.
That the perfect example of that is the guy who started Under Armour shirts, the Under Armour brand.
Uh-huh.
He saw all his teammates, his football, himself. He was a professional football player.
Collegiate.
Mhm.
It was
Oh,
collegiate.
collegiate. Okay, college football. And he said, you know what? The problem is that these cotton undergarments,
Mhm.
they carry so much water and it's so uncomfortable and it carries a lot of weight. A soaking wet, whether they're sweating or whether it's they pour water on themselves to cool them off, whatever it is,
It can
and
add 2.5
it can
pounds.
add
Two and a half pounds each shirt.
And so he said, you know what? I need something that's going to not absorb all that moisture, something that's, they didn't have the term moisture wicking at the time,
Right.
but that's what he did. He's like, you know what? This is a problem. I'm going to solve the problem. And that's the perfect example of what you're talking about.
And
And
now
then
he became a billionaire in his 30s because he
that's
solved a problem that no one else even saw the problem.
right. And then he took the market and he brought them to the solution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So it's a different frame of mind, and it's just amazing. I learned this from a book called Running Lean, I believe. And that and it ties into the done is better than perfect idea. And that is, once you have the solution, create a minimum viable solution, something that isn't the grand thing, but is minimally viable to solve the problem for your market, and then ask them, invite them to try it, and then you can make the adjustments if it works to the next phase and to the next phase and to the next phase. And um the metaphor I use is building a car. If you're going to go and build like a hot rod, like a sports car or something like that, maybe you start with a scooter. The scooter is a transportation device that gets you from point A to point B. If people like the scooter, then evolve it to a tricycle, then evolve it to an off-road vehicle, then expand it out to the hot rod marketing solution, whatever it happens to be, but continually have a minimally viable solution as you're testing your solution with your market.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we had a client in Florida, and he was telling me that he was in the process of spending like $200,000 to build this website that's going to do all this. I said, whoa, 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 whoa! Before you do that,
Pump the brakes. Exactly.
put the brakes on that, dude. How much have you spent? He goes, well, I'm just signing the contract today. Okay, stop. Do you have an email list? Let's send out to your email list to find out who's even interested in this idea that you have before you start spending this kind of money.
That's right.
Right. And then he sent it out to his list, and guess what? No one was interested.
Yeah, they don't want it.
He called me, goes, I want to thank you. You saved me $200,000.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, and to put a different frame on that, when we put together a self-scheduling type of sales call system for a team, we start with, you mentioned Calendly earlier, Laura. We start with Calendly. You have a Calendly now. Okay, great. You can get appointments. Let's see if we can get appointments just using Calendly. Okay, great. Now let's put the Calendly on a nice page, with a little bit of supporting copy around it. Okay, it still works. Awesome. People are still scheduling with you. Okay, let's put an opt-in in front of it so we can gather leads to maybe convert some of the people who want to schedule with you and don't. But now we still have the page with the copy on it that has Calendly in it. So we're continually modifying and expanding out and building that better system, but we're doing it step by step instead of trying to build the whole thing all at the same time.
Yeah, too many people spend way too much time, money, and energy trying to build something that nobody freaking wants.
That's right.
Right? Let's stick. We have a saying: if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
That's right.
Right?
That's absolutely.
I don't care what it is. When it comes to your business, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
I think that's great. I'm going to write that down, and that's going to be one of those things that I end up sharing with other people.
By all means.
Yeah, my friend Jerry says, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I love it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so in addition to some of the marketing essentials, if somebody were to hire a marketing professional,
yeah,
what do they need to know? If they were going to hire you or compare you to another marketing company, oh, hey, there's a dog in the background. Hello, puppy.
There he is. He makes an appearance from time to time.
He says, who's Dad talking to?
That's right. And they know when we're wrapping up, so they get excited.
So how does somebody know what to look for if they're planning on hiring somebody to help them with marketing funnels and figuring out who their persona, their ideal customer is?
Well, I mean, it's like hiring anyone else, really. And the way I think about it is there's a lot of options in the marketplace for going out to hire, teams and people and things like that. And from a marketing perspective, I think it's great to look for someone or a team or whatever that has experience in a wide, amount of different mechanisms for marketing and has a broad sort of scope, but also focuses in a certain area. And that way they kind of know what's going on in the periphery, and they're not going to be working in a silo, and they're able to also work with other teams that can come in to fill in the gaps where they're where they don't provide that particular service. And it's also looking for a team that has a track record of success, of course, and the experience. And it's like well, Jerry, it's like hiring a mechanic. Anyone can turn a wrench, right? But you're hiring somebody who knows which bolts to turn with that wrench. They're the ones who can move with precision and move the fastest. For example, when you hire a wedding photographer, you're not paying for somebody to click a camera. You're paying for someone who has the eye to know how to frame the shot and has the skill to know the timing on when to press the button so they capture the emotion in the photo. So that's kind of the metaphor that I like to think about.
Awesome.
Yeah, talking about wedding photographers, a friend of ours and a client is a photographer, and someone was commenting on their photos, and they said, "Wow, these photos are beautiful. You must have a really nice camera."
That's right.
And she looked at him and said, "That would be like having an amazing meal and walking up to the chef and saying, 'You must have amazing pots and pans.'"
That's right.
It's like,
Wow.
no, it's the skill, man. It's the skill. You can't just
Knowing when to put what where and to position yourself. And that's exactly like marketing. How do you position yourself? I mean,
That's right.
that's as a business owner, as a chiropractor, I knew nothing about marketing
Of course.
at all. Why are you looking at me like that?
No,
I didn't know how to position.
I know.
Position myself. I didn't know what set me apart from the chiropractor that was the 500 feet from my office to their office. I didn't have
amazing.
a clue
Yeah.
how to set myself apart.
Medical school teaches almost zero about business.
And, it's the same with plumbing. It's the same with HVAC. It's the same with pest control. It's the same with
Everything.
all auto repair shops. It's the same with so many online businesses as well.
It is. And I struggled with it for a really long time. There's a lot of people that say focus on email. And then once I discovered that what we really do is we help remove sales friction. And my friend and mentor, Kevin Thompson, he and I had a conversation, and we found out together that what my team really does is we find underutilized and underperforming assets inside of a company, and we repurpose them to become new revenue streams.
Yeah.
And that's really what sets us apart from other teams.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Jon, would you please give your contact information one more time?
Sure. It's just the website, joncalendar.com, JONCALENDAR.com.
Perfect. Awesome.
.com.
We end every episode with a question for our listeners or whoever's watching, whether it's YouTube or one of the other platforms. And the question that I have, and maybe you'll come up with a better question, but the question I have is, do you intimately know your customer? Do you know what causes them to take action? And do you know what causes them to be immobilized from taking action? If you don't know those things, then please reach out to Jon. That's his expertise. If you want to grow your business, then that's our expertise. Reach out to us. You can reach us at BBMMUSA.com or just call us directly, 972-578-1700. Go ahead, Jerry. Say it again.
972-578-1700. Leave me a message. I'll call you back. I always do. I return every call. Or you can go to www.bbmmusa.com. And remember, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Awesome. Jon, are there any last words that you want to share with the listeners before we call this one a wrap?
I think you encompassed what I was going to say more eloquently than I could have. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Jerry, for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Looking forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, it's been fun to having you on our show, and we will have you again, my friend.
Thanks, Jerry.
All right, brother. See you next time.
See you.
Investment questions that provide clarity, move you forward, and inspire you to reach your goals. Share the show and connect with us at BBMMUSA.com to submit questions and learn more. That's BBMMUSA.com.